just the impressions from the first game against Notre Dame and just how tough they play for a full 40 minutes.
We did not play full 40 minutes of basketball against Notre Dame. I thought we had spurts where we played excellent. They are such a well-oiled machine that plays to their strengths, especially on the offensive end. They really, really make it hard for you, and they challenge every defensive principle you have. And they have developed a system where they know they're going to have 5 guys on the floor that all shoot threes. And the way the game is going, those threes add up if you let too many of them go in. They move the ball, they play within themselves, they play with a lot of freedom, and they challenge you. And you almost have to change some of your defensive philosophies in order to be able to deal with it. For instance, if you're as much of a help-oriented team like we are, then what happens is you start helping on them, and that's what they want you to do. So they're going to dribble into the paint to make you think they're going to try to make a layup. If you converge on them, they got 4 shooters spotted up all over the place. So it's a catch-22. You have to contain the dribble better. You got to find a way to contest shots. You got to find a way to have your hand on the line. And they are, like most teams in the ACC, they're extremely challenging at home in South Bend. You know, we haven't won very many games at South Bend. And so there's no doubt that they have our attention. We felt that we came up a little short against Clemson. This team has had a tendency to bounce back. And when you evaluate your shortcomings, when we've evaluated our shortcomings, we've adjusted. And I'm in hopes that we adjust like we have throughout the year whenever we lose a game.
Why do you think this team does bounce back as well as they have?
I think we have high character guys on our team. I think they care about the brand that they represent. I think they're Seminoles. They have a lot of pride. They allow us to call them out. They call each other out. But when you're growing and maturing, sometimes as youngsters growing into young adulthood, you have a tendency sometimes to have what they call slippage. And slippage is part of life, and you have to almost operate in a preventive posture every day, knowing that slippage is around the corner. And you see it all over basketball and all over college sports. But that's why they call them upsets. But in reality, upsets are invariable part of the business, and you're gonna have letdowns, and that's what we need to try to avoid. Now we need to rejuvenate ourselves, and now that we've been brought back down to reality.
Is that impressive, the way that they do kind of respond to adversity, or did you know that when you were recruiting these guys?
Well, you know, that's a philosophical question that's really deeper than probably we got time to talk about. It has a lot to do with some psychological things that maybe, you know, that affect the game. But in reality, we do try to be a little more selective about the kind of people that we want to represent our program. I think we have a great mix of guys who really care about what we're doing.
Have you ever seen a college basketball year like this one where I think last week 19 losses for top 25 teams? It just seems like there's no clear-cut greatness at the top in a tier system.
What I think that is what's so great about college basketball that I don't think the nation and the media specifically have caught up with. College kids are playing basketball all over. It's a way for them to get their education. It's a way to keep them out of trouble. I think basketball has developed into one of those types of games that there's always a level that you can enjoy playing it. And I think guys are getting better and better and better. And it used to be a time where the big name schools had all the players and they consistently beat up on everybody else. Those days have changed. And now everybody has players. I mean, you turn the TV on and you're saying, gosh, where did this guy come from? So I think that's the way college basketball is going. A lot of it is evaluating and seeing who fits into what you trying to do in terms of your system. Some players will be great players in one system and not so good in others. So we try to do a good job of recruiting to our system. But I love that when you see teams that have gotten better over the year, then you have injuries, and you have flus and colds, and you have guys fatigue that sets in, and you have maturing or immaturity, however you want to put it. But that's part of the growth process when you're dealing with young people. And I don't find that anything to be overly concerned about. I think that's part of basketball.
When guys guards are getting to the rim, has that more been the guy guarding him not doing a good enough job, or has it been the help defense not doing a better job?
I think it's a little bit of both. We have not done a real good job of containing the dribble, and I think a lot of it has to be, I use the word rim protector, where I probably should use the word rim discourager. You know, sometimes when you have guys that potentially block shots, they alter shots, or they discourage, or they create an atmosphere that maybe I need to make another decision. And even though we block a lot of shots, it seems as though people realize that our style of defense makes it difficult for you to run your offense. And so if you're trying to run sets against us and our system is taking you away from your sets, then what's your best alternative? So they go back and they look at all the people that we played, and people have resorted to this dribble drive and attacking the basket, because trying to run your sets offense against us is difficult. We one of the very few teams that are picking up full court, taking time off the clock, which gives you a little less time to operate once you get in the half court. You see a lot of teams, they walk the ball down the court and they attack, and vice versa. We push the ball on offense, and we're not doing that nearly as well as we've had in the past. And that's part of our DNA that seems to be lacking a little bit. But I think a lot of that, from our standpoint, is that we got 6 new guys, and some of the things we're trying to get them to do still are not happening yet. But I think that people are aggressively attacking the basket off the dribble, and they got shooters spotted up all over the place. So it becomes a challenge for the guy guarding the ball to do a better job of stopping penetration. And from a philosophical standpoint, we might need to back off a little bit, not try to play so tight on the perimeter that give these guys a little more opportunity to drive, being that we don't have guys in there discouraging the drive like we've had in the past.